I always thought e-bikes were for p***s. Is this thing fun? Is it practical? And after riding it, do I feel like a for riding the Apex XD E-Bike? Or will I be excited about it and be like, you know what? Maybe I'm not for riding this thing. So we'll find out. You get on a bicycle to work out. In 2007, two of my friends and I, we took off on a journey and we rode bicycles from San Diego to Virginia Beach, over 3,000 miles. And everyone was like, you know, wow, that's an unbelievable feat to ride a bicycle all the way across country. But if I had said to you, yeah, man, I jumped on an e-bike and I rode across country on an e-bike, no one, it's cheating. You know what I mean? People wouldn't be like, oh, wow, that's so amazing. At that point, like, why wouldn't you just ride a motorcycle? That's stupid. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where my mindset was when QuietKat had reached out to me, and I was just like, why are you guys asking me this? I come from the gun industry, you know, being in my background in the SEAL teams and then being a firearms instructor. And that's where they basically were like, hey, we have a new design. We've reinvented the e-bike. We've made some major changes which separate this from the competition. And this one is designed for people who love outdoors, who love fishing and hunting, trail riding. And the fact that our facility out here is inside the Ocala National Forest. We got my brother and I have a 105-acre ranch. So there's a lot of stuff that we're doing around the ranch, a lot of stuff we're doing in the woods. We're outside every day. Donkey Kong. Ah, fuck it. And maybe there's a place for an e-bike in this type of environment. So that's what we're gonna find out. And in addition to, is there a place for an e-bike if you're not a, and then the second part is, does this e-bike actually live up to the hype that they're claiming it does, being different from the competition? So that's what we're gonna find out. And if you wanna join us, that's the little mini journey we're gonna do. I agreed to do a test. I'm not being paid, you know what I mean? I get to keep the bike, I'm not being paid, but they sent me the bike and I was actually pretty surprised because it came majority assembled. Like, you don't have to be an avid cyclist, you know, a bike smith or whatever to assemble this thing. It's pretty straightforward. There's a few little things. I made a video about the unboxing and assembly if you guys want to watch it. It comes pretty much set up. You can put it together. It came in two boxes. One had the majority of the bike, the other one had the front tire. And it was probably, if I wasn't doing the video to do a play-by-play or like a how-to put it together, you could probably assemble the thing in an hour. You know what I mean? So it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. But the main thing that we want to focus on is the powertrain behind this thing. Can the bike do what it says that it does? Can you get to the areas that they're claiming you can get to with this bike and your gear and the weight? You know what I mean? And then however you want to configure it, that's up to you. That's the minutia of the very specifics for your application. But the main driver behind that is the bike capable and is the power there and the longevity there to actually take you on this adventure that you might want to go on. I've been thinking about it. I can think of multiple uses for it out here, and there might be a spot for it, which we can get into in a little bit. Let's test out the bike for what it is. Let's go ride the bike. Let's get on the trails. Let's do some hill climbs. It's got multiple settings. It's got an eco setting, which gives us like longevity. It's got stealth, which is, you know, got a little bit more torque, and it's for going slow and quiet. It's got a hill climb, which gives a lot of torque for steep terrain. It's got a trail ride, and then it's got a boost. And the boost is to give you like max power if you want to go as fast as you can. So it's got different settings. So let's see if those settings do what they say they're gonna do. And it has another setting too, walk, which is if you get in a place where you actually can't ride the bike, but your bike is totally loaded down with all this gear. Well, what do? They have a walk mode where the bike rolls at 1.5 miles an hour, and you can literally just walk with the bike. And instead of you pushing your bike with a couple hundred pounds of gear on it, it just rolls the bike with you, and you just walk next to it and basically balance it. So we'll test the different settings. We'll test the length of the battery. We're going to put it under load, and we'll do a long ride from here down a long dirt road to a trailhead. Then we'll do some trail riding, and then come back and just, you know, again, test that longevity. Let's go do a 20-mile ride with weight and see if it holds up. We'll do a wet test. Will this thing, if you happen to go through a puddle, or if the bike tips over doing a stream crossing, is that lithium battery gonna catch on fire? And is your bike gonna melt down or blow up? So some of the things that we're gonna get into and test out over the course of this trial. And then I guess the last thing, after doing all this, we can reevaluate. Is this thing fun? Is it practical? And after riding it, do I feel like for riding the Apex XD e-bike? Or will I be excited about it and be like, you know what? Maybe I'm not for riding this thing. So we'll find out. Here we're in Central Florida. Our ranch, like I was mentioning, is inside the Ocala National Forest. So we don't have giant mountains. We don't have big rocky terrain out here. But what we do have is a lot of sugar sand, and we have a lot of mud, lots of heat, thick vegetation, lots of rain. So we're gonna give it that type of test. There's some hills that we have access to. They might not be super long, you know what I mean? Like thousands of feet of elevation, but some of them are steep and they're very, very sandy. So we'll find out how the bike performs in the Central Florida environment. So one of the cool things about the product, if it works well, is a solar plug-in, and it folds up into this little briefcase. It's pretty lightweight, and you can take this with you. And when let's say you're going to your hunting spot or your fishing spot, once you get into position, you can pull this thing out, open it up, find a sunny spot, plug it into the bike, and then hopefully by the time you finish up with whatever you're doing, you know, you'll have topped off your charge and get you set up for your ride home. They claim to have 30 to 60 range when you're trail riding with equipment and stuff like that. I don't know if you're riding 30 to 60 miles into the forest to go do your hunt. So that seems like it should be a pretty safe bet as far as how much power do you need. But if you're doing a multiple day trip or a camping trip, maybe you are gonna have that, because maybe you're in the woods for a few days. And to get into position, you're good, but after a few days of riding, maybe not so much. So that might be one of those things where this solar kit comes into play, to where, you know, you can top off during the day while you're doing whatever activity, or you have a downtime. You know, you can just trickle charge this thing and get it back up to, you know, a full battery, so that way you can continue riding over an extended period of time. All right, welcome to Florida. This is our terrain out here, sugar sand. This is what it's all about in Central Florida. And I have ridden these trails before on my mountain bike, and it's just too sandy. Like, if you can keep your balance and get through this with your normal mountain bike tires, maybe you're going 5 miles an hour, but you're pumping your legs, you're not getting a lot out of it. It's just not fun if it's doable at all. So let's see how the QuietKat does with these big fat 4.5-inch tires, 26-inch wheels. Let's see what it does. Let's see how it handles the sugar sand any better than a traditional mountain bike. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can do a U-turn in the sugar sand, and then let's try a short hill climb on this trail. Let's see how this thing performs. Here we go. Oh, he's getting it. Dude, you're not doing that on a mountain bike. All right, so we just probably climbed about 40-50 foot of elevation. Normally, if I was able to make that up on a normal mountain bike, you might be cruising at like 5 miles an hour. Coming up to the top, we were going about 15 miles an hour, and I'm in trail mode. It's not even the hill climbing mode. So off to a good start. This thing so far is a beast. Let's keep going. All right, so the sugar sand hill was pretty good. What I'm going to show you now, though, is on this quad. We're on a Jeep trail, and not only have it a decent incline, but it also has whoop-de-doos built into the incline. So I want you to see how the quad articulates trying to come up this trail. And then what I'm going to do with the QuietKat, instead of navigating the middle and trying to stay on the spine of it, I'm going to go through those whoop-de-doos and we'll challenge it. Let's see how it handles a whoop-de-doo in a climb on sandy terrain. And but I'll demonstrate with this first so you can kind of get an idea of what we're working with. That shouldn't be that easy. That's nuts. You're not doing that on a mountain bike. All right, so here we are at the Redneck Sand Pit. I wasn't gonna come here because I didn't think it was fair. People who build like nasty off-road trucks come here to test it on this super sandy hill climb. I've had a bunch of buddies come out here and try this with their, Toyota Tacomas with the TRD off-road package and be like, oh man, it's got the lockers and this and that. And they come up here and those axles just start going, and the thing just digs a hole. And then gotta go get the tractor to pull them out. Based on how this has handled the other sandy areas, we haven't found something it wouldn't climb yet. So let's try this. But I wasn't planning on coming here because I just didn't think this was fair, because you're definitely not doing this on a mountain bike. This is literally like going to a sand dune that's, 85 feet tall and trying to ride a bike up it. You know what I mean? So again, these fat tires are working great. The torque, like the power generation inside like that torque spectrum for the bike has been doing great. We haven't been digging holes. And all this I've been doing so far is pedaling. I haven't even been using the throttle to ride it like a dirt bike, which you can do. I'm just doing the natural pedaling and with their power assistance to see what we can do. So enough talking, I'm gonna go down to the bottom and let's try to tackle the redneck hill climb. All right, wish me luck. It shouldn't be able to do that, man. It's nuts. We just climbed that at 10 miles an hour with me pedaling, right? Like, one, that shouldn't be able to come up. Two, it shouldn't be able to do that so fast. And I'm in trail mode. I'm not even in the climb mode right now. I was literally gonna come here to show you the feature to when you can't get up a hill, to have the walk mode that you set it to, and it just drives at 1.5 miles an hour and you walk next to the bike. So let's say this was loaded down with gear, I couldn't make it up. Walk mode, this is where I was gonna bring you for walk mode. And we're climbing this thing like it's easy day. This isn't even, like, my heart rate's up a little bit, but this is easy work for what this thing is. My mind's kind of blown right now. This isn't what I was expecting. Should I show you the climb mode, like the walk mode, I guess, anyway? I shouldn't be able to do this. I got the jelly legs. So we're at exactly 10 miles. We've been riding, our average speed is, let's see here. Max speed was 24.6, average speed is 10.6 miles per hour. So again, if you've ever ridden a mountain bike in sugar sand, the fact that we're able to ride a bike through sugar sand is pretty awesome in itself. The fact that we've been riding through sugar sand at an average of 12.6 miles an hour, just cruising. Like, I'm not pushing it to try to set a, land speed record. We're just riding. So the fact that with all those hill climbs we've been doing and the whoop-de-doos and all that stuff, like, it lets you see that when we actually get like a straightaway section, just pedaling in the sugar sand, we're going 17 to 24 miles an hour. Which is pretty impressive. And the thing that's interesting, granted, this is slick, but when I come out here with my TW200 dirt bike, an enduro, and it's got the fat back tire, the fat front tire, and we come cruising this trail, like the sand wobbles that you get and the stability, granted, we're going a little faster, but this actually feels to me more stable than my dirt bike does. Going through this, and I'm going a little bit slower, you know what I mean? We're usually going like 25, 35 miles an hour, just kind of cruising the sugar sand here, because it's not like a full-blown like motocross dirt bike, you know what I mean? So, but again, pretty impressive for the fact that, again, we're pedaling through this. So at 10 miles, all sugar sand on trail mode, we've burnt, we still have 65% battery left. So if you go off of that using 35% battery, here we are, they say active range between 30 and 60 miles for trail use. And if we go off of those numbers, we fall within that parameter. So far what they're claiming the battery does seems to be accurate. Again, we're really working this thing hard. We're on trail mode, which is the second highest power mode. And we've been in the sugar sand this entire time. So we're gonna do, for the sun sets, let's get one more section of trail in. We got a couple more miles to go before we get to a hard packed road, the dirt road that takes us back into deep woods. So let's just burn it out. You know, maybe I'll try putting it in boost mode, and let's just take down the sugar sand trail and we'll just plow through it. Let's just see what happens. So one of the things that I use the QuietKat for is just coming down to the range, honestly. It's got some cool setups where you can put some gear on the bike, you can throw the trailer. We have the rifle mounts that we put on the trailer, so I can throw a full-size precision rifle on there. If I'm coming up to the shooting deck here at the mid-range shooting platform, you know, to test a rifle or whatever, I can just throw a couple of the essentials in the trailer, cruise on down, take some shots. If I need to go paint some targets or whatever, you know, just jump on the bike, get a little exercise, ride down there, do what you got to do and come back. It's a little bit easier than like firing up the diesel truck to drive, you know, a half mile. It's a little excessive to take the truck all the way down to the range and back. It's way quicker just to jump on the QuietKat and zip down there. So, but it's cool. It's nice. The trailer detaches with 2 quick release pins, so you can just pop it off and then you can just zip around, go up, grab lunch, use the bathroom, whatever you got to do, and then come back up to the decks. So the trailer's rated for 100 pounds. We put a 110-pound girl in the back and went for a rip, and it handled fine. When you get a lot of weight in it, you got to learn the balance of it, because your corrections, like the weight will shift back and forth. They have another trailer that has 2 wheels. It's like a game trailer, so if you went hunting and caught a deer or shot a deer or whatever and you're bringing it back, you know, the 2 wheels obviously makes that more stable, which can take more weight. But for this trailer, it can take 100 pounds, and it's fine if you load it right and you balance the trailer. It's not bad once you've actually ridden it for a little bit. We've gone on single track trails and, you know, rode in the woods, and it's fine. You just got to figure out those balance points. The other thing though that I like with the solar charger is, out here we have lots of hurricanes and things of that nature. When you're doing your hurricane prep and you're getting all your fuel cans and everything like that, after the storm, when you lose power, like, you're very particular about what you want to use your fuel for. So if I'm just going to go cruise around the property, see what trees fell, just do a survey of the damage, or just do minimal things like running up to the barn and stuff like that. I don't want to waste my fuel for the quad, or waste the fuel for my truck or the Humvee or the tractor to go do stuff that I can handle with the payload that the QuietKat can handle. I'm not tapping into my essential fuel supply to do things that I can handle with the capabilities of the QuietKat. Just for everyday life out here on the ranch, you know, we have 105 acres and there's lots of different things spread across the property that we need to maintain and keep account of. So sometimes it's just nice to get out on the bike and go for a ride, you know what I mean? So just doing small projects. If I gotta run out and run the chainsaw, we gotta go check on the livestock, even just taking the dog for a run, you know what I mean? it's all stuff that, yeah, we could do it with the quad, I could do it with the truck, but sometimes it's nice just to get out, get some exercise, and, you know, just do it that way. All right, guys, so before we tested the functionality of the actual bike's performance, now let's test the aspect of we should be able to take this with our gear and go on to long trail rides for hunting, fishing, recreation, all that stuff that we were discussing. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna take off here from the ranch. We're gonna drive through the forest on some dirt roads, on some bike trails, a little bit of both. But we're gonna go about 13 miles out to the mountain biking trailhead, and then we're going to do some trail riding, and then we're gonna make our way back. So the whole trip should be 30 plus miles. So let's see how the bike performs, one, with the weight, and then two, let's see what the battery life is on this. And what we have here on the front rack, this can hold 50 pounds. We got 10 pounds up front. I'm not gonna overload that front tire just because this terrain is so sandy. I don't feel like eating shit. So 10 pounds on the front. On the rear rack, we have 25 pounds bolted onto here or strapped onto the rack. And then in the trailer, we have 75 pounds. This sandbag is 50 pounds. This sandbag's 25 pounds. So we've got 75 pounds in the back. So overall, dispersed across the bike, we have 110 pounds of added load. I myself, I weigh about 186, 187 pounds. So if you throw that on top of it, the bike is moving, oh man, now you guys got me doing math. What is that? 296 pounds. Ooh, you like that. Cameraman's impressed. 296 pounds. So let's see how it performs. I'm probably gonna do a mix between eco mode, if it can handle the weight, because I want to get that longevity, and I'm not really going to be going for speed today. Like yesterday we were hauling, you know, through the sand, but I don't feel like cruising that fast with all this weight and potentially wiping out, because I haven't ridden with this much weight on the bike before, so I don't know how it feels. We'll feel it out. Maybe I'll switch into stealth or trail mode, but again, we want to see longevity, under load, how does the bike perform, and how does the battery hold up. All right, guys, we're 7 miles into the trip. We came to a section that is just riddled with that sugar sand like we had yesterday. So yesterday when we were riding, it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, man, the bike's nice and light, it can do it slick, but could it do it with the weight and dragging the trailer? So let's see if I eat shit going through the sugar sand, or if this thing can handle it. All right, that was pushing it. Oh, easy day. Easy day on boot. All right, just got through that stream crossing. That worked out really well. But now my 110-pound sandbags are soaking wet, so who knows how heavy they are now, but extra credit. We'll give this thing a run for its money and see what happens. Rain's starting to come in, which is I'm welcoming it. You can't have an FSW or a Navy SEAL event without a little bit of wet or a little bit of rain. Kind of part of the package. All right, here we are. Cruising. About 18. Feels pretty stable. Now the sand got a little wetter. Got a little more traction. little bit of whoop-de-doos though. It's nice on the ass cheeks. This is where that full suspension seat post can come in.
The beard looks glorious.
Yeah. All right, so we made it to the trailhead. We just rode 13 miles. Our battery is at 55%. It was just over 62 miles down the road. It was at like 63 and we were 2 miles out from the trailhead. Then we got into this section and it's kind of, maybe you can see it, but there's these little tiny whoop-de-doos. And this is where having the suspension seat would really come into handy, because this, as small as these are, it was just really shaking you coming down this last 2 miles. This is the prototype, so it didn't come with that. The other thing is this is a different type of sand. Before we were in the woods on the trails, this is more of a maintained dirt road, so this actually has clay mixed into it. So now that it's wet, this last 2 miles, it's been like the sugar sand, but everything's been sticking to the bike. So it's been like riding in a mix of glue and sugar sand. It's been really weird. So going from eco mode through a lot of this last 2 miles, I had to switch to trail mode to be able to keep my momentum to maintain that balance through this. And you can kind of see it's sticking to everything. It's sticking to my shoes, right? It's just like a clay, sand, nasty goo. But it still held up great. And we made it to the trail, 55% battery. So that means we could theoretically make it back, but we're pushing the envelope on capability for the trail ride. All right, so we'll come down from eco, past stealth, climb, off, which is just a bike. Now here's the walk mode. So I'm gonna hold this button down and here it goes, it's just rolling. So now I can walk with it through the sugar sand. All right, so we're at 20 miles. The trip is gonna be 27 miles. We're at 26% battery, so we're a little bit lower than where we should be if the math was completely even. So I'm gonna try to keep it in eco mode as long as possible. This does allow you to switch into off mode, which the 5 gears, the 5 speeds, still are active, even if the bike is off. We'll see. I might be pedaling this gear in, and you know, some of the people in the production were like, you know, maybe we'll just take the sandbags off if we get to 20%, but I don't want to be full of shit, and you know, let's just test it out. If we gotta rough it out and ride it back when the thing is in ride mode, then I guess we'll find out how much nicer it is having the pedal assist than no assist at all. So final push. Let's work it out. This next section is the sugar sand. I'm gonna try to do it in eco mode, but the sugar sand really does better in trail mode. With the saved battery, I'm gonna see how much I can do, and we'll play it by ear. So let's see if we make it back. All right, well, we made it back to the property, but the property's kind of big. So we still have just short of a mile back to the house and staging area. We're out of battery, but again, this bike still has 5 speeds, but now I'm gonna get My legs are jelly from riding. I haven't done a ride this long in a while. So toward the end there, I brought it from eco mode down to stealth mode, which gives you less pedal assistance, but I was trying to like just milk as much out of that battery as I could. So with this much weight, you're definitely working it in that stealth mode. And again, after riding that far. So let's ride it in, full benefit. We'll see the appreciation between having the power assist versus just lugging the weight. We do have 5 speeds, so let's see how they do. Final stretch, here we go. Then we get to eat. So I'm gonna have a little bit of a motivation to get this done because I'm freaking hungry. All right, see you up at the house. Oh, this sucks without a battery. My butt cheeks are sore. All right. It made it. 27.1. Just short. I'm interested in weighing these sandbags again. But to give it a fair review, we said 110 pounds plus my 186 for 296 pounds of weight or load on the bike. So let's just see where we're at, and then we can kind of do our after actions report. But that way, at least before everything dries off or we go get food, I'm gonna weigh this one more time just so I have an accurate representation of what this moved for 26 of the 27 miles. The math with this stuff now being wet, the load increased from 110 to 126. My weight went from 186 to 192. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. So it brought the weight up to 318 pounds of load that the bike was under. So the fair assessment, you know what I mean? I'm not the biggest dude who's gonna get on this bike. And we got 126 pounds of gear distributed across it once we got 7 miles in. And we're riding on soft sand, right? So under better conditions, like the bike's not having to work as hard. You can just stay in eco mode or one of the lower modes versus having to switch into trail mode to navigate that sugar sand. But that's what we got. We got 26 and a half miles of our 27 and a half miles, we'll call it, right? So we got 26 good miles out of the bike at that load. It's a new bike, we got 26 for what it's worth. All right, so coming into this, I was a little apprehensive about e-bikes. So the first question is, before my opinion of it, just straight facts, does it do what it says it's going to do? And I would have to say yes, it does. One of the things that after doing some of the long distance trial of seeing what it can do under load, we got 26 miles with it weighted down. And I wanted to go back and check because I'm like, man, if they're saying that the range is 30 to 60 miles and I got 26, now it was loaded down going through sand and all that stuff. That's a big gap. So how are we determining that? And I actually reached out to QuietKat for confirmation, and they said, well, there's 2 different battery types. You have a 15 amp hour battery and a 30 amp hour battery. If you're running a 15 amp hour battery, you're probably going to be around the 30. If you're running the 30 amp hour battery, you're probably going to be around the 60. So which one are you running? You were issued a prototype. A lot of the prototypes went out with a 15 amp hour battery. So I pulled the battery out of the bike, checked it, and yes, it is the 15 amp hour battery. So based on what they're saying, 30 miles depending on weight of the rider, weight of the gear, the temperature, because batteries are affected by temperature, the type of terrain that you're running through, on average, they were seeing a roughly 30. So we had it totally loaded down in sandy conditions, pulling a trailer, and we got 26. So I think that's a fair assessment because we really put it to the test of the limits, and we got right there at about 26. They said the average is 30. So I think that was a fair, statement on their part of an expectation of 30 miles for that battery life under load. The other thing of that was they're saying that you can take your adventure, your equipment, you can go to places that maybe you couldn't go before. So with that part of it, I would say that we're able to pull gear, to be loaded down, and to navigate different types of terrain into areas that you probably wouldn't be able to do just on your own leg power. So from that standpoint, I would say it's accurate. From the standpoint of this is the most robust bike on the market, you can go into all the specifications and comparisons and stuff, but they were saying that this thing is basically a tank. And I've now been riding the bike for about 6 months, and you can see the different types of conditions we've been putting the bike in and what it's like out here. And it's hard on any equipment. A lot of stuff gets beat up with all the sand and the rain and the humidity. It's tough on equipment, regardless of a bike or not. Just in general, this environment's tough on everything. So in that time, the bike has not had anything break on it. The chain hasn't snapped. The chain's never come off. I haven't had a flat tire, and the battery is still performing the way that it was. I'm not seeing a loss of power every time I charge it or anything like that over the course of the last 6 months. So with it being a robust construction and that kind of quality, I would say from that standpoint, that seems to be accurate. I haven't had anything break on it, and it's still performing. As far as ranch life goes, there's nothing I've done with this, I would say, that I couldn't do with my quad and pulling a trailer behind my quad, but I can't take my quad off the property. So, and then there's just a fun factor, you know what I mean? Like everything that I'm doing with this, I can do with my quad on the ranch, but sometimes it's fun to get on the bike and go get some exercise and things like that. Going into survival and, hurricane and disaster prep and things like that, there's a lot of things that I can do with this that I don't necessarily need to waste the fuel and the time and maintenance on the quad or the truck to do these minimal tasks, to where I can save my resources like fuel, right? For the things that I need, the extra power from the mechanical equipment that I can't get out of the e-bike. So from the standpoint of ranch life, it's been fun, it's been convenient, practical, but if I'm gonna leave the property, there's a lot of places in the national forest that you can't ride a motorized vehicle that I can ride that type of motorized vehicle, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So for those types of applications, once I come off the property line of the ranch, it's been really cool and convenient to have that now, because I can get into different places around the forest that legally I wasn't allowed to go to prior. So from a military application, law enforcement application, do I see a place for the Apex design or e-bikes in general? Yeah, the e-bike itself it's big and it's heavy. So from a military application, granted, a quad is heavy, a dirt bike is heavy, so it is lighter than those, but it's still a very heavy piece of equipment to try to throw out of the back of the plane. If you're gonna jump that, maybe the quiet part might be the added benefit of using that versus a motorcycle, because it's definitely way more stealth than a 2-stroke or a 4-stroke. You can charge it in the field with the solar panel if you can do that in a sneaky way. It's kind of a big black panel. But from a law enforcement standpoint, there's a lot of officers who ride the bikes all day, and I think one of the cool things is using that pedal assist in an eco mode, or just riding the bike in bike mode where there's no engine on. You know, you can save your energy throughout the day using that, and then when you actually have someone that you have to chase down, there is a call you have to go to, you can very easily put it into trailer boost mode, and you can now ride it like a motorcycle or a dirt bike just using the throttle. And as you're chasing a suspect or getting to a scene, when you come off the bike, you're not winded and tired from just pedaling really hard getting to the scene. So in that case, you know, to be able to have the bike loaded down with all the necessary equipment that you would have to save the energy levels of the officer to be able to ride that bike all day long without using nearly the amount of energy and effort that it would take to move that amount of weight, right? You could bring things that you couldn't bring before, you know what I mean? So I think there's definitely a spot. I mean, it's a niche application, probably city environments where they're already implementing police. But again, even for doing stuff like search and rescue or fish and game, like you can probably get into areas that you couldn't get into, or if you're doing conservation stuff, be able to, again, not have that noise of a 2-stroke, 4-stroke driving all the animals and wildlife out. You can get in a lot closer. Once you get pretty close, they can still probably hear the whining. There's a small whine of the electric engine, but it's nothing like a motorized vehicle coming down the trail. So coming back to the other kind of biased opinion I had in the beginning of, is an e-bike cheating, and are you just kind of being a for riding an e-bike because you're looking for a cheat, you're looking for a shortcut? That was kind of my idea in the beginning. I had no interest. Being someone who loves cycling and mountain biking and BMX and all that kind of stuff, when I saw the e-bike, I was like, dude, that's lazy. If you're gonna go ride a bike, ride a bike. If you're gonna get a dirt bike or a motorcycle, go get a motorcycle. Now, after spending 6 months with it and going out into the forest, pulling weight and all that kind of stuff, I think there's definitely a place for it. And if I was going to go do like a hunting trip or a fishing trip or something where I'm going out into the woods, I'm going to a remote location to where it's very hard for anyone to know where I am or for me to get help. I think if you were to navigate those where you come into a position and wherever you go to your arrival point, you still have like 70% power. So whatever that length is for your ride in, based on equipment, terrain, all that kind of stuff, if you're only going to use like 30% on that insert to your location, I think it's a great piece of equipment to have if you were to fall out of a tree stand, if you were to cut yourself with your fishing fillet knife, or if you got gored by a freaking pig or I don't know what it is. Anything aside wiping out and breaking the bike, it's nice to know that you could then get back on your bike and just ride the throttle and get yourself back to a road or to a safe location, without having to use the pedaling force to get there. So from that aspect, I think it's a great tool to have for safety. But also, just when I moved out here to the forest 9 years ago, I had this idea that I was gonna go mountain biking a couple times a week. I'd wake up in the morning and I was just gonna hit the trails and go ride. Now that you've seen the type of terrain we have out here, that never happened. I tried a bunch of rides in the beginning when I first moved out here, and then I was just like, dude, this is frustrating. This isn't fun. If I can ride the trail, I'm going like 5 miles an hour. It's boring. And I just put the mountain bike away. And if I want to go mountain biking, I got to go drive somewhere. And maybe you're already doing that because you live in a suburban area or a city. But it was just one of those things where it's like, dude, I live in the middle of the woods. I can't ride my mountain bike. It's kind of stupid. So I just kind of haven't been riding much. And since I've had this, I've been riding all the time. And the cool thing is not only am I able to navigate those trails with that sand, you can still do it fast and get a good workout. You're still pedaling hard, you're getting a good workout, but I can ride terrain that I literally could not do with a traditional mountain bike. So it's brought that cycling aspect back in, and it wasn't a thing of, you know, laziness or anything like that. It's just the bikes that they have for traditional mountain biking can't navigate the terrain of this sugar sand that's out here of Central Florida. So for me, it's been one of those things where it's cool to be able to get back on the bike again. And not only can I do that, I can do it fast enough that I can actually take my dog for a run with me, you know, and if you're not going 20 miles an hour, he's barking at you because he's getting frustrated because he wants you to go faster, right? So I can keep up with the dog and, you know, push him and give him a good run. So that's been fun, that's been cool. So I guess now that I've been on it for what it is and what it can actually do, I think it's a really cool piece of equipment. For riding around town, yeah, maybe it's convenient, you know, to be able to go pedal and stuff like that. But for on asphalt, like, you can go fast. We tested it. We got over 37 miles an hour. So you can go really fast on this. But for the asphalt, like, that's a personal decision. You know what I mean? You can ride a normal bike pretty fast on asphalt, but once you start getting onto the trails and getting to some of this adverse terrain with load, you know, and your equipment, it's pretty much a no-brainer. It does what it says it's going to do, and it's fun, and it gives you capability and opportunities that you didn't have access to before, based on the way it's built and the way it performs. It's like that old saying, you judge others on their actions and yourself on your intentions. So now that I have one, maybe you're not a for riding it. I don't think David Goggins would ride one. He'd still say you're being a but I think there's definitely a place for it. And if you get an opportunity to try one, I suggest you do it. I think you're gonna enjoy it.